Hey, this is Jeff again. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for checking out this video. This video is another in my series Discovering Kelowna. I've set myself the challenge of seeing all 203 Kelowna city parks in 1 year, and I'm about halfway through. Today, I'm on a walk in the Mission. This is my first time visiting the Mission on this project. The Mission is short for Okanagan Mission. Today, it feels like, or nowadays, it feels like a suburb of Kelowna. It feels like an adjacent part of the town. On Wikipedia they call it a neighborhood of Kelowna, but you know, for most of the 20th century it was really a separate place. In fact, the Mission was founded before Kelowna was, and it was the first settlement that Europeans made in this valley. It was founded in 1860 by Father Pandozzi, a Catholic priest who came from France, and to this day there's a lot of Francophone culture down here. It was 1860, and of course Kelowna wasn't laid out until the 1890s, and in fact downtown Kelowna was laid out by the son of one of the founding fathers of the Mission, Eli Lakim. So it's all connected, of course, but for most of the 20th century, for the first half anyway, the Mission and Kelowna were separated by swampy land, and so it's a real pain to drive back and forth. Just to the north of where I am, so that way, is Mission Creek, which is the boundary between the old Mission and Kelowna. Of course, until 1973, it really was a separate town. That's when Kelowna was all amalgamated into the larger city we know today. So here I am down in the Mission at the Mission Recreation Park. So this is a piece of land that used to be, of course, it used to be swamp. After that, it was farmland. And then it was in the 90s that this part of farmland was converted to a recreation ground for the people of the Mission. It took a lot of fighting with the Agricultural Land Commission, because agricultural land is precious in this province, but they really needed a big piece of land that they could put this stuff on. So on one side of me, over here, we have the H2O Aquatic Center, which has water slides and pools and all sorts of great things. And on the other side, over here, we have the Capital News Center, which is the rec center with the fitness, and it's also got a library branch and a restaurant and all sorts of great things. Often public events are held here, so it really is a community center for the entirety of the Mission. Of course, the Mission goes on for a long way south of here, down through Crawford, across Bellevue Creek, Kettle Valley, all sorts of things going on down there. But today we're going to take a walk around the rec center and have a look at the park around it, and also the adjacent marshland, because of course, even though the swamps were drained and the marshes were drained, this is still very wet land. So hopefully we'll see some wildlife and some beautiful wintry marsh landscapes. Come with me and we'll see what we find. So here we are at the first park of the day. This is Thompson Marsh Park. In 1992, when the city bought this land for the Mission Rec Center from the Thomson family, who'd been farming it for generations, since it was a swamp, part of the deal was they had to create a nature trust, a nature preserve. So what they did was they carved off the south part of it, which you can see behind me, and made it into a marsh, or remade it into a marsh. So the marshy area, the wetland you see behind me was created by people, but it mimics the landscape that was here over 100 years ago. And so now there's a new creek, Thompson Creek, that travels around the outer edge of the Mission Rec Center property and drains into the Micklebrook, which a couple hundred meters later drains into Mission Creek, north of where we are now. And maybe later on this walk we'll see what that looked like. But anyway, you can't actually go in there. The land I'm standing on is part of Mission Rec Center Park, but in there it's all protected for the animals. So far I've only seen ducks, but there's got to be herons and muskrats and beavers and hawks and things in there. It's going to be a hopping place for the local animals, and I'm glad that the Thompson family made that provision in the deal they made with the city. Here we are at the quote-unquote other park of the day. Mission Recreation Park. I gotta say, it really feels like my whole walk today has been in Mission Recreation Park. It's a very large park, and it really feels like several parks in one. So in addition to the Thomson Marsh Park, which travels around 2 of the sides of this park and is lovely, that feels a lot like the edge of Mission Recreation Park. It doesn't really feel like a separate park. But in addition to that, there's also several other sections. Of course, it is a recreation park. In addition to the 2 big recreation buildings, the Aquatic Center and the Capitol News Center, there are also a lot of soccer fields and baseball diamonds and tennis courts, all in the middle of the park. But around, there are some other features. We saw there is the Michael Brook Community Garden, which I'm glad they found space for. I'm sure it looks much more verdant in the springtime. I also saw the Mission Dog Park, which is a delightful and, I gotta say, extremely well-used, open, off-leash park. So I've been looking around. I can tell you there's not a lot of off-leash parks in this town. A lot of people just take their dog to the nearest park no matter what the rules are. But this one has a parking lot, and a lot of people are coming down and letting their dogs run around. It looked really good. And also, in addition to that, there's this marsh you see behind me, the Michael Brook Marsh. So the Michael Brook is a creek that drains this area. I don't know how artificial it is, because of course it's originally all a swamp. But right in front of me, not 100 meters, is Mission Creek and the Mission Creek Greenway, which runs along the north side of the Mission Recreation Park. So shortly, or a short ways away from here, to my left, Michael Brook enters Mission Creek as a tributary. And of course, the new Thompson Creek, which they built in the Thompson Marsh, enters into Michael Brook. So a lot of the properties around here have ditches around the whole property just to keep it drained. Apparently they were only able to grow celery and onions down here. I'm not sure if that's true, but this land is soggy to this day. So I mean, if there weren't big dikes on Mission Creek, this land would all be a swamp again, and the river would be wandering all over the place. Anyway, yes, Mission Recreation Park. There's so much to do here, so much to see. I'm really glad I came. It made a full day, even though it just felt like one big park, you know? So I'm glad you could see it. I'm glad I could show it to you. Well, there you go. That was our trip for today. It was a wonderful trip all around Mission Recreation Park. I saw all the parts of it, all the outside parts anyway, and I was delighted with the variety that it had. And I also saw Thomson Marsh Parks, technically a separate park, which wraps around the outside of this park like a snuggly, ecologically responsible blanket. I really enjoyed this place. It would be great to come back to it in the summer, but obviously it was great in the winter too. It's great all year round. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I had to show you today. I hope you're inspired to come down here if you haven't been, and if you live in a different place, maybe there's a rec park with a rec center and a lot of fields and features for you to check out in your place as well. Anyway, I hope if you enjoyed this video, you will consider subscribing to this channel, like the video if you liked it, and hit the notification bell if you want to see more, because I do a video every week, and I'm going to keep doing them until I've seen all the parks in the city of Kelowna. So come along for the ride next time. I'll see you next Friday.